Welcome, adventurers. Breathe in that fresh air. Invigorating, isn't it? Out here in nature, you are all about peace, love, and understanding. Understanding that if something slightly defiles the serene scene, you are obligated to murder it. You are a druid. Welcome to Rebel Then King. Today, we discuss the mighty morphing flower ranger of Pathfinder 2nd Edition, the Druid. Druids are a wisdom-based class. You want to be good out there in nature. They have training in simple weapons and are proficient in light and medium armor with some technicalities and limitations that we'll talk about later. They have 8 hit points per level and are trained into a number of skills equal to 2 plus their intelligence modifier, though they do get some other skills from their subclasses. Speaking of subclasses, there are 7 of them. They are called Druidic Orders. You have the animal and the flame and the leaf, the stone and the storm, and the wave and the wild. Overall, a druid is a kind of tanky caster build, which is pretty cool. These subclasses aren't that complex, but they do vary a lot, so let's take some time to talk about them now. I don't normally go that deep into subclasses, but I do think that with the druid and with some of the other casters that we look at later, it is important to do. You see, with some of the classes we've looked at so far, your choice of subclass doesn't matter all that much. I mean, a barbarian is going to run up next to something and hit it hard, regardless of the barbarian instinct subclass that you choose. The choice of your druidic order, though, really will change your fundamental approach to gameplay, so they are worth delving into. I also want to talk about focus spells, which is something I've sort of glossed over in the past. Again, with a lot of the classes we've looked at so far, they either don't have focus spells or the focus spell is the same for each subclass. All bards get counter performance. All champions get lay on hands. That's really all you need to know. But each druidic order does have a unique focus spell. And your focus spells, as a caster, really are kind of the thing that defines you. You see, they are sort of in between your cantrips and your spells from spell level slots in terms of their overall amount of power and the frequency at which you can cast them. So it becomes arguably the most important tool in your toolkit. That's why we need to take a look at them today. All right, first of all, we have the Animal Order Druid. First, it's important to note that you are granted an animal companion with this order, so you can have a bear or a badger or something follow you around. And then, not surprisingly, your focus spell relates to this too, with the Heal Animal focus spell. Clearly, the Animal Order Druid is all about having this animal companion boost you in your social situations, and most importantly in combat, using your focus spell to keep them alive. So if you want like a little cat or a capybara to follow you around and be your buddy, you want to be the Animal Order Druid. The Flame Order, on the other hand, is all about battlefield control. They use the Wildfire focus spell to light a 10-foot burst of terrain on fire. Any creature that moves through that terrain or ends their turn in that terrain is going to take some fire damage. This is the definition of battlefield control. If the enemies are somewhere and you don't want them to be there, you light the ground on fire, you cause damage to them, and you make them move. It is a really cool spell. It would work really well with the rest of your party, kind of forcing the enemies to move to your front lines or move away from your squishy casters or whatever you want to do with it. So if you kind of want to be like this martial general blaster caster sort of character, the Flame Order Druid might be for you. The Leaf Order. This is sort of your classic green thumb, nature-loving druid build. You gain the Good Berry focus spell, so every 10 minutes you get to make tasty little good berries, and they deal 1d6 plus 4 healing. That's really nice, just 10 minutes automatic healing. You do also gain a Leshy Familiar. Now, this is not a companion like we looked at earlier. Familiars are sort of like one level down, but it's still cute and fun. So if you want to be that like classic plant nature-based healer, you want to be the Leaf Order Druid. Oh, the Stone Order Druid with their brutal focus spell, Crushing Ground. You tear open the ground, then slam it back down on the enemy, causing 2d6 damage. That's pretty good damage for a focus spell. And plus, you can leave that creature flat-footed, which basically makes them a pincushion for your front line. So that pretty big damage and debuff is just amazing. The Stone Order Druid might be the most brutal of all the Druidic orders, and I love it. The only order that beats Stone, maybe, in my opinion, is the Storm Order. That's because they have the Tempest Surge focus spell, which is pretty wild. It deals d12 damage on a basic reflex save. Now, the fun thing about this is it does vary a lot, because you might roll a 1 on that d12, you might roll a 12. The creature might critically succeed their saving throw and take no damage. They might fail and take a lot. They might critically fail and be left clumsy too, and taking persistent electricity damage, because yeah, those are all effects of this focus spell. Oh, and you start with 2 focus points, so you can actually cast this twice. I mean, that's amazing. If you want to be a blaster caster, master of the elements, you want to be the Storm Order Druid. Okay, and now onto the weird ones, starting with Wave. This one is cool, I suppose. You gain the Rising Surf focus spell, which only takes 1 action. That's nice. And you basically conjure up a wave out of nowhere, and I suppose a magical surfboard, and you ride 35 feet in 1 action, ignoring difficult terrain because you're, on a surfboard above it. So it's basically super movement for 1 action, and that's cool. I do kind of question how often this would come up though, because even though you're somewhat tanky, you're probably still not a frontline fighter. You're probably using some ranged attacks anyway, so how often do you need to move 35 feet? And honestly, even though difficult terrain is a thing and it can be annoying to deal with, it doesn't come up all that often, to be perfectly honest, so I kind of question how often you would use this focus spell, but I don't know, I could be wrong. If you think it sounds fun, go for it. Cowabunga. And then finally, we have the Wild Order. This one I'm also, a little bit confused by, but it is popular and people like it because of its cool flavor. You gain the Wild Shape focus spell, which kind of morphs your body, and you gain somewhat powerful d6 unarmed claw attacks. This does lead to more powerful attacks later on, as well as other transformations like Soaring Shape, so that's pretty cool, I guess. But honestly, I do sort of question why you wouldn't just use like a d6 agile weapon, which you certainly have access to, and just carry that around and not have to take the actions to cast the focus spell to give yourself d6 claws. So I don't know. I don't know that I'd use it personally, but if anybody has a better explanation of it and can convince me why, please let me know in the comments. All right, so that's all the orders, and as you can see, there are a lot and they were varied. I think one reason they can vary so much is that the defenses of the Druid are pretty powerful. Remember I said they do have light and medium. I forgot to say medium armor proficiency, though they do have to use natural armors like leather, hide, or the new bone armors that came out in the treasure vault. Pretty fun stuff. They also do have access to shield block. So between that armor capability and the shield block, they're pretty much the tankiest caster build you can have, which means you can get up close and personal and be like the Wild Order, for example. And I think without these defenses, some of the Druidic Order options would just not be viable. This defensiveness really does stand out as a powerful and unique aspect of the Druid. So a few videos ago, we talked about the clerics and called them the ultimate healbots in Pathfinder 2nd Edition. Well, I think the Druid actually gives them a run for their money. You see, first of all, Druids will also be able to cast heal because it is on the primal spell list. So that's a start. But more importantly, they're going to be better at healing outside of combat with traditional medicine checks. See, remember back to that cleric video, and we kind of talked about wisdom being a bit of a dump stat for your cleric. That is not the case with a druid. You do want to invest in wisdom, and that is going to make you really good at medicine and nature checks. And the nature check is important because you can pick up the herbalist background or otherwise get the natural medicine feat, allowing you to use nature instead of medicine for medicine checks like treat wounds. Additionally, you get a +2 bonus to do so as long as you are out in the elements. That means that at level 1, a herbalist druid is going to be rolling +9 to their medicine checks, which basically means you're going to pass every time. And you're going to be able to do that once per hour, since that's how often you can do treat wounds, which is way more often than that cleric is going to be able to cast heal. So yeah, I actually think, now that we've talked through it, druids are the ultimate heal bots in Pathfinder 2nd Edition. All right, here comes the hammer. There has to be something bad, right? Well, yeah, kind of. As I alluded to earlier with the whole metal armor thing, there are some rules that druids have to follow. These are called anathemas, and if a druid doesn't follow them, they lose their powers. They can't cast spells, they can't do anything. There are shared sets of rules like the metal armor, but then each order actually has their own. The Storm Order, for example, can't sit by while someone needlessly pollutes the air. So if you're hanging out at night and someone is shooting fireworks off, you have to go in and stop them. For this reason, you'll often see druids in adventure path notes or maybe called out by your GM as being a class that is just not going to work in a certain campaign. In one of my campaigns, we are using a druid in a pretty city-based environment, and it's fine, but honestly, we do hand wave things a lot. I mean, a lot. It's just like, oh, there are animals in a zoo. That's fine. Oh yeah, look at this. We're just burning things. Oh, that's fine. If you really want to stick to the rules, you would have to do something about it every single time, which could really derail the whole story and roleplay, and could just lead to you being a character who just sort of acts opposite of what everyone else is trying to do. So that is something to consider, and it is a limitation that is somewhat unique and bothersome with the druid. All right, well, that wasn't so bad, right? And I think that pretty much does it for the druid, the ultimate flower child of Pathfinder 2nd Edition. They've got good defenses, the primal spell list is cool, lots of orders to choose from. I really like it despite the limitation of the anathemas, and I think I will give it 7 out of 10 Woodstock 99 documentaries. I don't know what it is about documentaries about failed music festivals. I love them. I can't stop watching them. I need help. With so many subclasses to choose from, I do wonder, has anybody out there actually played as that kind of wonky wave riding one? If so, let me know in the comments. Until then, reduce, reuse, recycle. And if I catch you putting paper in the bottles and cans, I will tear the ground out from underneath you and bury you in a pile of rubble. Okay? Just keep them separated. It's really not that hard. What are we doing here? Come on.